Thank you very much. That was very nice to know you. And next up we have the a versatile and my and my and my respected mentor, Toastmaster Rohbaan, who will be evaluated by Toastmaster Shama.
Good evening, fellow Toastmasters and guests. Toastmaster Rohbaan is going to deliver a project from his level 3 on pathways. The project is about using presentation software. The purpose of his speech is to introduce or review basic presentation software strategies for creating and using slides. And he is supposed to demonstrate, I need some light, to demonstrate his skills and his understanding for using the presentation software. His speech title is Fundamentals of Risk Management, the 4 Ts, and the time allocated is 5 to 7 minutes. All the best to you, Rohbaan.
Toastmaster of the evening, fellow Toastmasters, Assalamu alaikum and good evening. I'll start off with a very simple question. You've heard the word risk many times. What do you understand from the word risk? Anyone? Hands? Yes?
Situation exposed to danger, perhaps.
Okay, and anyone else?
Probable danger.
Probable danger, opportunity. So the simplest definition of risk is effectively uncertainty. So what can happen is you can invest in the stock exchange. Either you will be earning more money, either you'll be losing money, or you'll be in the same position. So it's uncertainty. If you wake up in the morning, you go outside in the park, it might rain, you might get wet, or you can carry an umbrella and utilize it as a risk management mechanism. So generally risk management is more or less about understanding what kind of uncertainties there are and trying to manage them the best that you can. Now generally in corporate events, I can't use this slide, so I'll use it over here. So it's more or less about perspective. It's Snoopy, a very famous cartoon. Snoopy talks about that someday all of us will die, and the very wisdom-oriented Peanuts just says, true, but on all the other days we will live. So this is what risk management is about. And then we obviously have these boring models, over there, what we get paid for. So you have the COSO framework, you have the IRM framework, you have this fancy ISO 31000 model. Now what this model really talks about, I won't bore you that much, it talks about different ways that you can manage risk. So effectively you're identifying what a risk is, then you're making an assessment, you're making an analysis for it, and then effectively you're trying to control it. And the most important thing is getting feedback. So we say that evaluation is the breakfast of champions. But I meet a lot of different organizations on a day-to-day basis. They pay me good money, and we talk about different risk control mechanisms that they can use. Most of them have a very simple and effective risk control mechanism in place, which I will present over here. You can go ahead, or if it's too small, it's basically a lady who's saying our disaster recovery plan goes something like this. So someday they hope to have a budget. So these are the kind of risk control mechanisms that some organizations have. But what I want to talk about is something specific, something that you can go out here with as well. It's the 4 Ts. The 4 Ts, namely transfer, terminate, tolerate, treat. I'll repeat it again. Transfer, terminate, tolerate, treat. So all of them are on a certain scale, and they're on a certain scale for a reason. So you have on one scale, impact, or in terms called severity, and then you have probability, or some might call it frequency. So I'll also explain what it means going forward. So generally, as part of the table, if a risk is deemed to be low impact and low probability, you'll tolerate it. Similarly, if it's a high risk, high probability of it happening and it can cause a lot of damage or have an impact, you terminate it, and probably you can use the same logic on the other transfer entry. Now, tolerate. How many of you steal your company's resources? The papers, the pens, the staplers, the stapler pens?
Do it all the time.
I know all of you do, but still. So generally what happens for any organization is that they know that this risk exists, but it's something that won't really impact their balance sheet at the end of the day. So they let the employees do whatever they want to do and steal pens and whatever, and they feel all happy and mighty. But because it's generally not really worth stopping. So it's something which has a very low chance of impacting the balance sheet. On the flip side, if your HR comes to you and tells you stop stealing pens, I don't think you'd feel very good about it, and it's actually counterproductive. So you tolerate these kinds of risks. Shoplifting is very common. I won't ask who shoplifts over here. But shoplifting is quite common, and generally a strategy that a lot of supermarkets used to do is they'd install a small mirror so they can see, who's come in the shop, who's stealing, etc., etc. So it's more or less about knowing the risk and then getting a treatment for it. Another example is you having security guards outside your home and outside your premises. Transfer. So generally there are two main kinds of transfers that we talk about. One is insurance. What exactly is insurance? Insurance is risk of the many shared by amongst different people. It's basically a known premium cost that you're incurring for an unknown cost of claim. Very simple. Known cost of premium, which you can book right now, against an unknown cost of claim. So basically what you do is you identify there's a risk and you transfer it to a company which has the financial capital to do it. Second option is transferring risk from a contractual point of view. So you'll get someone like Harvey Specter to draw in a contract for you and say that, no, I'm not responsible for this. Toastmaster Umar is responsible for this. So just as a very simple example, a lot of organizations these days, they basically outsource their employees because they don't want all the risk associated with employees on their head. Then the last is terminate, something which has a very high probability of happening and something which can cause a lot of damage. So you generally terminate that risk. You don't exactly continue with that risk. So just as a practical example, so you are a manufacturing entity. There are certain risks that you would tolerate, like your employees stealing pens. You would treat certain risks. So let's say a pipe has gushed out, you'd probably bring in maintenance to repair it so it doesn't damage things further. You transfer a certain risk. You don't want to buy vehicles to transport goods from one place to another, so you'd probably give Toastmaster, let's say Saad, to do that job, and he gets the risk associated with it. And terminate, for example, you're a Pakistani company, you're in India as well, you might think about terminating the operation in India and getting out there as quickly as possible. There's a lot that you can still learn, but over to you.